Hi, this is a quick little video on an app we just released called Seachange. The app is built for language learning. Now, it's not your standard language learning app like Duolingo. It has a really specific purpose. If you're learning a language with audio tapes, so using Pimsleur or some of the other audio tapes available, this is an app that I think may help you. I started learning a language about 6 months ago, and I downloaded the Pimsleur tapes, and I found that among all the other things that I tried, including face-to-face tutoring, simply just reading, listening to YouTube videos, the Pimsleur tapes have been the most helpful. The other things have helped me, but the Pimsleur tapes and other audio tapes like them have been the most helpful. So at least for getting the structures, not necessarily for vocabulary, but for getting the structure of the language, the basic structures, how verbs go together, that sort of thing. I find that the Pimsleur tapes have made that the most natural. However, I've struggled a bit. I've been frustrated when using these tapes because typically the way that they're structured is they give you a statement in your native language and they ask you to say that statement in the target language, the language you're learning. And oftentimes you want to hear the phrase in the target language repeated over and over again because it gets, in the beginning they might say hello in Italian and you're to say buongiorno, and then they say buongiorno, and you know you've got it right. But as the phrases get more complicated, what I found is I want to hear their version several times, many times, especially if it's a sentence or two, because I want to make sure that I get it all right. And what this leads you to have to do is jump around in the audio file a lot. So you listen and then you need to jump back to where that phrase started again, and you want to hear it a couple times. And oftentimes, for me, when I was doing this, I found that I would jump to the wrong spot, and then I would be waiting to get to the right spot, and then I would listen again, and the same thing would happen again, and it was frustrating. And not only that, it just wasted time. It made the experience of learning a little bit less fun. So I built an app for myself to use because I was wasting a lot of time, and I decided after I finished it that maybe other people would like to use it, so I decided to release it. So it's in the App Store right now. It's just an Apple app under the name Seachange, all one word. I'll leave a link for the app down in the description. But the people who have downloaded it, or several of them, have contacted me and had some questions about how exactly the buttons are to be used. So I thought I'd make a quick explainer video and give you a little bit of an idea of how to use the app. It's pretty straightforward, but I realize there's a couple things that might be not very intuitive, so I'll give you a little explanation. And I'll start off right here. So you download the app, you're faced with this screen. You have one option, that's to load a file. So you click at the bottom right there on the little file icon. Now from here you have two things you can do. You can either load files from the cloud, so that's iCloud, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever you have connected in your iPhone. Or the other option is you can load files from the iTunes library on your phone. For the demo here, I'm just going to load a cloud file. So I click Cloud Files. You're going to have to navigate to wherever this is in your cloud, whether that's Google or iCloud. I'm going to select a file. We're going to hear some sound for a second, and I'll pause it.
This is Unit 13 of Pimsleur's Italian 3.
Okay, so this is the interface. This is the only screen in the whole app. Now, what I decided to do when I built this was I thought I want to see exactly where the audio starts and stops. So when you can't see this, you end up jumping around a lot. Now, the first couple lines look really messy, and that's because it's constant audio. It's a long explanation and a long conversation in Italian. But the meat of the audio is you can see spaced out very, very carefully. It gives you a few seconds of no sound, and then after that, you're given the sound. So what this allows you to do is to just click where you want to jump to anywhere in the file, and it's obvious where the sound starts. So I'm going to go to the first section. You can see I have a little playhead. A little playhead at the top. It's a little pink dot, and I'll press play, and you can see that it moves.
In the following conversation, you'll
So that's the playhead. Now you can move the playhead around using the playhead slider at the bottom right, and I'll move it around and you can see what happens. So as I move it, the playhead is placed at a new location. Now, this is useful when you want to go back really precisely, as I've already said. So we're going to go to the first bookmark. That's the little circle with a white dot in the middle, and you get there just by pressing next bookmark. Now, when I press play, we're going to hear a phrase.
Domandi.
Do you know until what time the museum is open?
So this is the structure of these files. They ask you to say, okay, what time is the museum open till? And then they give you a space to say it. And then they say it.
Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto?
Now, did you get all that? Would you get that on your first try? I don't usually. I need to hear it again. So I grab the slider. I slide it back right to the beginning of where the waves start and drop it.
Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto?
And you can see how easy it is to be precise. Now, without seeing those sound waves and without having a slider that you can move around like this, it's much, much harder. You end up all over the place. But with the slider and with the little bookmarks, it makes it really easy. So when you use the slider, it drops sort of temporary bookmark, the yellow circle with the dot, anywhere where you've slid to. And if I want to jump back there, I can just press the last mark button at the bottom left, and I get to jump back. So I can continue to repeat this very easily.
Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto? Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto? Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto?
You get the idea. Now, that bookmark will disappear. The yellow bookmark that I'm calling a mark will disappear if I use the slider again. So if I slide to the next waves, it's set there. It's a convenience bookmark, but it's not permanent. So you have to remember, if you want to save it, you have to press the convert mark button. That's at the top right. So if I move to a new location, right at the beginning of this phrase, I get the temporary bookmark. I can press
Sa
play.
fino a che ora il museo è aperto?
If I'm happy with it and if I want to save it for later, I press the convert mark. And now it's permanent. So these permanent bookmarks will be there the next time you open the file, as long as the file name stays the same. If you name it a different name, we're not going to be able to pull your bookmarks for you. So you have to keep the file names the same. If you're just uploading your files to Google Drive or iCloud and you never touch them again, you have nothing to worry about. The only issue would be if you start changing the names of the files. We won't be able to retrieve the bookmarks from memory if you do that. So you have your play pause button. You have a slider to move the playhead around. You have bookmarks. Now, the only thing I haven't spoken about with the bookmarks is the add bookmark button. This add bookmark button, it just adds a permanent bookmark right away. So if I slid to a place that I wanted to, if I'm playing the file and I want to bookmark somewhere,
I believe that it is open until 5:30.
I just press the add bookmark button and I get a permanent bookmark. And then, of course, the last bookmark, next bookmark arrows just let you jump the playhead around without having to slide. You can just jump to the next bookmark. And lastly, the delete last bookmark, what it does is it deletes the bookmark to the left of the playhead. So right now we're going to delete the middle one. And then you can guess, if we're to the left of the playhead, the next bookmark that's going to get deleted is the one on the furthest left. And if we wanted to delete the one on the right now, we'd have to slide over and then press delete last. So that pretty much sums up the app. The only thing that I haven't talked about is the speed slider. You have the ability to slow it way, way down.
I believe that it is open until 5:30.
So I can take this to, let's say, 0.75. That's 75% of the regular speed. And I can go to a section I want to hear.
Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto?
It's much slower than at full speed.
Sa fino a che ora il museo è aperto?
So that covers essentially the entire app. The lock view button, I haven't spoken about that either. The lock view button, I realize it's a little bit confusing, but it gives you some flexibility. So when you first open the app, the view is always locked. It always comes locked. I just pressed it, now it's locked. So when you press play, the app essentially centers the waves in the sound file for you, meaning that all you can do is click and we'll take you to the spot that you clicked. So, but you can't necessarily scroll it in this mode, in this locked mode. This is probably the mode that everyone's going to use. From what I've heard from people who've used it, they don't even touch that button. There's really no reason to touch that button unless you're searching backwards. So let's say I wanted to go way back in the file. Let's say I was halfway through the file and I wanted to go back to the top. I would actually have to press the lock view button to unlock it, and then I can scroll with my finger to wherever I want in the file. The reason that this is a little bit confusing is because if I keep it unlocked and I start playing it and I scroll around,
It's just around the corner.
I can't really see where the playhead is. I have to scroll around to find it. Whereas if it's locked and you press play, we always center the playhead at the very top for you. So it automatically centers the thing for you. And this is the mode that almost everyone uses. So at the end of the day, all you really need to know how to do in here is press play and pause and how to click where you want to go. That gives you 80% of the use of the app. The other stuff, the slider gives you more precision than a click, but of course you can just click if you want, like I just did. The speed allows you to slow it down. It just helps you hear better. The bookmarks, once you use them, will become more obvious. They're just a way to save an exact spot in the file for later. And the lock view is basically to allow you to scroll. And that's it. So I hope you find it really useful. If I get a lot of interest, I may release it for Android. It wouldn't be a lot of work to do it on Android. And what I'm really interested in knowing is if other people who use this app have feature requests, have things that they think would make it much more useful. I would love to hear them, and I would definitely consider integrating them into the app. But for now, I hope you enjoy the app. Thanks. Bye-bye. This is just a brief addendum to my video. If you don't have any tapes, if you don't own Pimsleur and you don't have anything else that you know of to use with my app, a really, really good option is the Foreign Service Institute tapes. Now you're probably thinking, what is that? Well, apparently in the 60s and 70s, the United States government put together several language learning courses for their diplomats, I believe. So when people were moving to other countries to represent the United States and they needed to learn the language to interact with people there, they had very, very high quality courses for their diplomats and other employees to use. And these courses are actually all available for free now. I'm going to leave a link below, but there's a good chance that the language that you're learning is there. I think there's about 20 of them, and they're not quite as slow. They're not quite as good as the Pimsleur courses, in my opinion. However, they're very good. one of the leading people in language learning I spoke to. She's a professor at Texas A&M, and she's told me that basically everyone she's ever spoken with and consulted on language learning, she's instructed to use these tapes because they work. So they're, if anything, they're a great place to start. I still recommend buying the Pimsleur if you're really serious, because it ends up being about 50 hours of really good quality material. The courses I'm talking about, the FSI courses, I don't believe they're quite as long, and like I said, they may not be quite as detailed, but they're a great place to start. You can get the app going, you can use Seachange with the language learning material and see if it's helpful for you. And yeah, all the links will be below to the app, to the courses, and whatever else I can think might be useful. Thanks, bye-bye.